Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to edition of the Positive Chivas Del Norte podcast. I'm here with Melissa, and we're going to talk everything Chivas Femenil. Melissa, what's up?
Well, crazy week. 3 games in 7 days. I hope the players are getting some rest because they deserve it. I mean, 7 points in 3 matches, pretty good results, I think.
Yeah, definitely. They won two. They tied one. They tied with Santos 0-0. They started off the week with the 0-0 draw. On the last podcast, I had asked for adversity for Chivas, and right off the bat, they got it. I was like, oh no, what did I do?
Yeah, we need to stop saying that.
And then they played Cruz Azul that week as well. They beat Cruz Azul 2-0, and they ended the week playing Pumas, which they beat 2-1. But there's a lot of things that we can talk about throughout the 3 games. I know we didn't want to break each game down because I think we can touch topics in general, like overall for the 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, the Santos game, like you mentioned, it was like the adversity we kind of wanted Chivas to face. And Santos, like, even though they're like one of the highest ranked teams, they are always like a team that Chivas struggle with. Like, they haven't beat them in, I think Eugene tweeted about it's like 2 years. They haven't
Yeah.
beaten them, or 1 year. So it's like the kind of matchup that they struggle with. And Santos did like really well. Like Santos, maybe not so much in attack, but in trying to neutralize completely the midfield and everything that Chivas did. And it was like interesting to see Chivas like struggle with against a team that managed to pretty much mess with their game.
Yeah, Chivas was doing a lot of plays down their wings with either Norma or on the right, and then you had Maria Sanchez on the left. And Santos did a pretty good job of just canceling them out for most of the game. They had opportunities here and there, but it was pretty much like a goalie showdown that night. Blanca Felix had a bunch of saves for Chivas, and Toledo had that PK save against Alicia Cervantes.
Yeah, I mean Toledo is one of the best goalkeepers, and she's super young. She's like the U20 goalkeeper, but she's like a massive talent, and she's a player that she's exciting to watch, and I really hope that she leaves Santos. Hopefully she can come to Chivas. But yeah, I mean she's definitely like one of their top two best players, and she really showed why. I mean why she's like that starting goalkeeper for the national team, and I really hope that she continues to develop and to become like and make that transition to the senior national team because she's really good.
Yeah, it wasn't the matchup I was expecting, but it was a 0-0 tie. But it wasn't. It was still a fun match to watch.
Yeah, it wasn't like kind of dull or anything. Like both teams were really trying, but it was like part because both goalkeepers were so good. I mean, I think that we're seeing Blanca have like a really good level this season, something that I think that we hadn't really seen in the past year. I mean, she was doing well, but like right now, I feel like she's really back in her best form, and like she's been really great at those one-on-ones, and that's like her trademark play. So it's really great to see her in this form.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And then we had the Chivas Cruz Azul game. Same thing. I feel like teams are starting to try to neutralize Chivas' wings. And going into that match, I was really curious how Shorty Mejia and the team was going to react to teams that are planning on doing that going forward with Chivas. And I think that's going to be the plan going forward. They press high and they try to cancel out the wings and try to just win the game in the midfield.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one thing that we did see with Santos, I feel like and Chore, I feel like he has been learning from this. Is that I think that it took him too long to make those substitutions. Like he changed, he brought in Jocelyn Montoya for Norma Palafox at the 58th minute against Santos, but then he kind of like just kept waiting and waiting and waiting. And like if you're seeing the midfield's not working, I mean, try something else to try and regain control of that. And it took him like a while, and he didn't make the other two subs until the 70th minute when he brought in Yashira Barrientos for Maria Sanchez, and he brought in Tania Morales to replace Caro Jaramillo. And I think that that was like one of his main mistakes, and something that I mentioned in the piece that I wrote for Food Mix Nation is that I didn't really like his bench. Like I saw his bench and I felt like he didn't really have much options on the mid because it was only like Tanya and Victoria Acevedo, who is like more of a defensive midfielder. And I don't know, maybe I would have liked to see someone like Isabela Gutierrez step in and maybe try to show what she could do in like a kind of like 4-over match in the midfield. So I kind of feel like Chore took those lessons and he really tried to apply them in the Cruz Azul game because Cruz Azul, I mean, even though I would expect them to be ranked higher because they've been playing really well, they haven't kind of been able to convert their chances, but they're still like a very, very dangerous team to face.
Yeah, I didn't. I thought Chivas did well to control that game, and they were patient. That was the key. They didn't get desperate in trying to break down Cruz Azul's midfield or their back line. And then the first goal was a really nice build up from Alisa Cervantes and Carolina Jaramillo, who had earlier in the game they had gotten close. I think Alicia crossed the ball and Jaramillo didn't get a good connect on it. She tried to stop the ball. It was a bad first touch. But it's nice to see the team also building goals down the middle now.
Yeah, I think that they were able to like you said remain like really patient and trying to build their game and not get like intimidated. And yeah, I mean it's great because it's something that we'd mentioned before that Caramillo said that they were trying to play easy or try to make the best decision possible. And I think that we're seeing that and that they're getting like better at reading each other's movements and trying to find each other.
Yeah, and I think this is also like the game that Shorty started making adjustments to the lineup. I know he didn't play Norma Palafox or Montoya at the start. He started Carolina Jaramillo at right wing. What do you think of that when you saw that?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because he brought in Tanya for the midfield
Mm-hmm.
in the left side, which is where Caro was playing, and I think that that's a move that he could have made earlier against Santos because I mean Tanya she might not be at her best form, but she's still like that captain and that leader, and you kind of need sometimes that experience to sort everyone out and like to try to keep everyone like in order and keeping their line and stuff. So I think it was interesting to see that kind of move. I mean, I would have expected maybe to start Montoya on the right wing and just leave Caro at the midfield. But it was an interesting like decision to try and see if Caro could step in that role, and I think that she did really well.
Yeah, I feel like with Jaramillo on the wing, there's not that dependency on the wings. Like she has the ability to come into midfield and play. So like she's not isolated. I feel like at certain times, and like Norma Palafox and Montoya might be.
Yeah, and like defensively, Jaramillo is like way more solid than for example, Montoya, because Montoya, I feel like sometimes she can miss that a little bit in terms of coming back and trying to help defensively.
Yeah, and then we're talking about Montoya. She also had that one play. I know you've mentioned it before that she kind of has like her one weakness is that she doesn't really pick up her teammates' runs. And we saw like she had a great opportunity to lay the ball off to Licha in the counterattack, and I don't know if she didn't look up or maybe she reacted too late, but she didn't get the ball off to her.
Yeah, I mean Montoya is really she's really young still, and I think that's something that she needs to develop and that she can learn because she has like great players with that skill set in the team. Like you have Licha who has like a really good read on everyone's moves, Yashira who is like really great too, and I think that it's kind of in a way an obvious weakness for her. And it's not noticeable because we have like these great players that are really good at building for the others on attack. And when Montoya like keeps running and keeps trying to finish herself, it's kind of a bit more evident. But I still think that she's got like a ton of potential and she's like really been an asset for the team. But I mean, those are the kinds of things that you want to see her like develop and keep maturing on as she keeps developing in the league too.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think of Norman Palafox not playing that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's partly trying to rotate players because trying to prevent injuries, and that's something
Mm-hmm.
that I mean, there are some players that I haven't seen, and the club hasn't been posting like their injury reports, so we don't know who's injured and who isn't. Like so far, the only confirmed injury is Evelyn Gonzalez, but then you kind of wonder like what's happening if we are not seeing these other players. But yeah, I mean, I think that it was good to see some kind of rotation, and also to try to keep maybe opponents guessing how it's going to be, how Chivas is going to play. But I think that it worked well. I mean, for Chore, obviously you get the 2-0 win and keeping a clean sheet, which is important. But also I think that it was that like that boost mentally to say, okay, so we've turned the page, we're back to winning again. And like Cruz Azul was like a tricky opponent because last time they played, Chivas was up 3-0, and then Cruz Azul was able to score three times, and it ended on a draw. So you also kind of have that on the back of your mind, and you're thinking like, okay, this team can come back and try and draw things because they really have like the firepower to do it.
Yeah, and then another positive we saw in this game was the return of the long shot. I know, Melissa, you had mentioned it in your Food Max Nation piece, and we talked about on the pod that we have players that are capable of ripping a shot from outside the box. And we saw Nicole Perez take a couple of shots, and eventually Victoria Acevedo had the 2-0 goal from outside the box. She drilled it low into the corner, and it's just good to see that that's coming back too. We know Jaramillo can also take those shots.
Yeah, and that's something that we saw. Like Pumas tried that a lot against Chivas on their match, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, I mean, if you have players who have the capability to shoot from the long distance, I mean, try to set up some plays and practice and keep that in the like as an option, because sometimes you just can't bring the ball all the way to the box, and you kind of have to try if you have those spaces. So it's nice to see them really try and go for that, because it's a like a real option. It's something that we've seen them all do, like Nicole or like even Jaramillo. I know that she was trying those at practice too. So it's an important thing that they are really going to need, like especially considering future matches, like for example against Monterrey, which can be like a really hard defense to crack. So if you can try to to do like for the less orthodox approach, if the defense is not letting you through, then I mean go for it and practice and feel confident that you can score from that distance.
Yeah, definitely. And then, you mentioned the Pumas game. We said 2-1. A hard. I thought that was like their hardest match of the week. At the end of that game, I was actually like getting the anxiety attacks I get when I watch the men's team and they're up by 1 goal.
Yeah,
I was like, this is not supposed to be like this.
and it's funny. Pumas has been like the highest ranked team they faced, and this is the first time they beat Pumas, because last time they played, which was I think the first time they played each other, it was a draw. So visiting Pumas is tough because you're coming off from two matches with 3 days of rest in between, and you're traveling to Mexico City and like the altitude, and it was also like a very cold day. So you kind of have like these factors against you, like you're tired, it's cold. But I think that they did really well. I mean, considering that Pumas has been playing well, I think that getting those points against them, and that's the funny part. I mean, if you would have told me like they're getting 7 out of 9 points, I would have guessed that maybe Pumas or Cruz Azul would have been the draw and not Santos, because apparently Santos was like the easier opponent. But I think that it's great that they're going to get that confidence of saying, okay, we can beat like a stronger team, and as the opponents keep getting like tougher, they know that they can face them and like do well.
Yeah, I know Chivas started the game off really well, and then I know they got the goal at, what was it? Was it like the eighth, fourth minute? I wrote eight on
Yeah,
the
it was.
thing, but I feel like it was four, no?
Yeah, it was really early in the match.
Yeah, and then we saw the set pieces, set piece tactics that Shorty has been bringing to Chivas Femenil. They all start from up top the box, and Alicia Cervantes made a great run to find the ball and just bury it.
Yeah, and with that, Licha gets to 8 goals, which is also like an important number, because this is now the record for Chivas in regular season goals. I mean, Chivas has never had like a striker that delivers 10 goals a season. And like in that way, our threshold was really low. It was the record was 7, I think, by Brenda Viramontes, and that also shows like how much Chivas needed a player like Licha, who can deliver like those many goals in like a single player. And it's great. I mean, I think that she deserves that, and it's really impressive that she's been able to break that record in so little matches because we are not even halfway through the season. So I think that she's just going to keep on adding to that and deliver a new record by the end of the season.
Yeah, she's definitely gonna get that video that the Tudene guy promised her from what was it, Banda MS?
Yeah, Banda MS because she said that she loves Banda and yeah, she just needs two more goals to get that video.
What had she said in that interview? She said by week 10 was it or week 9?
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, 9 or 10, I think. But I mean, she has what 2 matches left to reach
Yeah,
that mark. I mean, I think that she should be able to get them.
yeah, and then she also had a goal that was called back for offsides, and that was like a crazy sequence because it was off a set piece, and I know Jaramillo tried like a chilena that landed in front of Michelle Gonzalez. The shot bounced off the crossbar, and then gets deflected to Maria Sanchez outside the box, and the goalie blocks it, and Licha just cleans it up and scores it. But she was clearly offsides.
There's just those kind of crazy plays where everybody's trying to bury the ball, where it just doesn't work out. And also, I mean, Pumas has a good goalkeeper as well. Melanie Villeda has been consistently really good. I think that she's kind of a little bit underrated in the league, and I think that she's a fantastic player. So she's also key in terms of the Pumas defense working as well as it has been. And that's something that I had also been mentioning that Melanie Villeda and also Puebla keeper Brisa Rangel, these are players that Tere Campos has had trained. Tere Campos is a goalkeeper trainer. She's currently not with any team, and she was at Pumas for a while. And I think that she was really great at developing these players, and I really would like to see her for Chivas because I think that maybe Blanca and Celeste and Fernanda could use like a goalkeeper trainer like her. I really hope that they consider bringing her in.
Yeah, the shot that the goalie blocked, the Maria Sanchez shot she blocked, it was a really complicated shot to block because it was one of those that is coming in the air and it's about to hit the ground right before it reaches you. So you have to like kind of predict where the ball's going to go, and she blocked it nicely.
Yeah, you can see like Tere Campos's mark on her goalkeepers because they are like their technique is really good. She's kind of like focuses on that, so you can see like they have like a very polished technique, and I think that that's something that's really great to see in the league.
Yeah, and then we have Pumas comes back late in the first half. They get a goal off a cross that initially Blanca Felix did a great job of stopping the initial header, but unfortunately there was a Pumas player right there to clean it up, and Pumas tied it 1-1. And I thought they were gonna go into the half tied, and then at the 44th minute, Blanca Felix made a great save that stopped Pumas from going up into the half, up by a goal. Another 1v1, just like in the Toluca game. She avoided Chivas going down 2-1, and I think all credit to Blanca Felix.
Yeah, it was like a very Osvaldo Sanchez like save. Like I don't know, I saw a photo of Osvaldo save the other day, and it looked like exactly the way Blanca positions herself. It's crazy, but yeah, I mean, once again, Blanca just like doing her part to keep Chivas in these matches, and it's great to see like her bringing that level back. But yeah, I mean, I thought that Chivas was also trying at the end of the first half to try and score, but in the end they went up 1-1 to the halftime.
Yeah, and then in the second half, we got the Nicole Perez PK goal, 59th minute. It was a nice build-up from Chivas again down the middle, which eventually led to Jaramillo getting fouled in the box. So once again, we see the Chivas playing down the middle, and new designated PK taker, Nicole Perez. I know you mentioned before she was usually the one that did it, but maybe they were trying to give Alicia Cervantes a chance. But we're back to Nicole Perez, and she buried it.
Yeah, Nicole was usually the penalty kick taker, and she'd been for a while, and that's also like a role that she's taken in the national team as well. So she's not a stranger to doing that, and I think that it's a good decision because, I mean, even though like I mentioned on Twitter, we all want Licha to get that golden boot, but I think that it's great that she's getting a bit of pressure off her so that she doesn't feel that she has to do everything. So I mean, if penalty kicks are not her thing, then I mean it's good for the team and it's also good for her because if she would have failed that, then I think that the pressure would have kept on building in her head. And I think that it's great that she can kind of take that breath and say, okay, I know that my teammates can deliver the penalty kicks and I'll just focus on doing my thing.
Yeah, no, no credit to Nicole Perez. It was a great penalty kick, high and right into the corner. I watched. I think I watched the Mexico Ghana under 17 World Cup highlights, and she had. I feel like she's just naturally good at them because she had the same exact PK and same exact location where she put it.
Yeah, she's got good technique and she's like a very calm player. Like she doesn't get nervous and like I said, she's used to the pressure. So even though she's so young, she's like capable of like standing her ground and saying, okay, I'm going to do this and deliver like a goal for the team.
Yeah, it was great to see. And then Pumas had one last chance towards the end of the game, a low cross in the box, and the Pumas player just it kind of went through her legs, and we lucked out, and Chivas ended up winning 2-1. But some other takeaways from that game, there were a couple of injuries. I don't know if it was because of the condition of the pitch, or just unfortunate, a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, I think that it was the partly the pitch, the cold, and I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to remember. I read an article from the Pumas players where I think that they haven't been having like the best medical staff available and they haven't been getting like proper treatment and stuff. I'm trying to remember if it was Pumas or another team, but I kind of think I'm pretty sure it was Pumas. So I don't know, maybe they really need to look into their training staff and see if they're really doing proper conditioning for the players because it was a lot of injuries. I mean, it wasn't like normal to see. Maybe also like I mean everybody played 3 matches this week and like of course some teams have like better staff and resources than others and that also ends up weighing in the teams as well.
Yeah, that's true. And then, where does Pumas play? Their feminine team, because I really like that. I don't know what you call it. The background of the goal. What is it like? It kind of looks like the side of a mountain. On like
Yeah, the
Instagram, you see pictures of like random soccer fields in like the middle of jungles and stuff like that. It looks really cool. It reminded me like one of those.
yeah, they play at La Cantera, which is like their training grounds and their youth squad grounds. And yeah, it's like really famous because of that stone wall they have. They never really played in the stadium. They only played once at the Estadio Olímpico, and that was on March this year. But it was part of like Women's Day commemorations, and there was like I think like a Women's Day festival or something, and they decided to put like the a Pumas femenil game there. But it's not something that you ever see them do, and it's not. I don't think that they're going to try to do it because you have Pumas, the men's team playing there, and also like their football team playing there. So it's like a lot of matches for that pitch. And they've always played at La Cantera, and they've asked Coach Davila about it before. Like they told her, I mean, don't you feel that it's unfair that you don't get to play the stadium? And I mean, obviously she's not going to maybe complain publicly, but she said that they actually like playing there. And yeah, I mean, that's where they usually have their matches.
Yeah, and I like it. It looks like a really cool backdrop. When you're going to that goal.
Yeah, it looks really nice, but I mean, at the same time, you kind of want the women's teams to play like bigger venues too. But
Yeah,
I
for
don't know,
sure.
maybe it kind of has grown into like a tradition to play there, and if the team's comfortable, then like there's not much that we can say about it.
Yeah, no, I think is Pumas the one team that doesn't have a Feminine account for their teams on their socials.
Yeah, that's it. That's the other thing. They don't have like a dedicated women's team account, and like a lot of people has have tweeted at them and told them like, why don't you have one? And they say, oh no, because we're trying to use like the exposure that the men's team already has to, so that our followers get the information. But like they don't even use a hashtag or something, so it's kind of tricky finding their stuff and their information because if you had a hashtag, at least you can filter out what you want to see if you want to see just like women's team content, but they don't do that. So it's I don't know if it's like they said it's a deliberate choice or they're just being kind of lazy with that. But you would like to see like maybe more engagement and trying to push the team a bit better.
Yeah, I just bring that up because I know I have seen like one or two people on the timeline complaining about and like adding Pumas that they don't have a femenil account, like a specifically dedicated to the everything femenil.
Yeah, and also they had like this season where they didn't make any moves, and everybody was like wondering because you already have like the difficulty of finding the information, and then you are seeing them not do anything during transfers and stuff, and it kind of adds into like this image we have that maybe they could be trying a bit harder with their women's team.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, to go back to Chivas, I think the takeaways from these three games are, I like what Shorty's been doing in terms of adjustments, and he knows teams are going to come out and play maybe a specific way against him now, and he's trying to figure out, you know, how not to depend so much on the wing play and play down the middle to score some goals.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this was like a big learning experience for him in terms of figuring out like better timing for the subs and figuring out how to rearrange players and try to regain control of the match in tricky situations. And I think that overall the team responded well. I mean, they're still like they're currently ranked third, I think. And I mean, overall, I mean, if you would have told me like, okay, coming into the season with Chore, which we didn't know how he was going to perform, and the team, which we didn't know how they were going to perform. If you would have told me like they're going to be third by Jornada Siete, I would have said yes, bring it in. Like I want that. I am completely okay with that. So yeah, I mean, and also like the biggest takeaway is that they have the best defense in the tournament. So that's also been great to see. They've only been scored on twice. I mean, I know that they might not have had the toughest matchups yet, but that also kind of builds confidence because they're scoring a lot, but they're also like holding well defensively. Then right now they have like the same points as Tigres. They're in third place, and the only reason they are third is because they have scored five fewer goals, but they've also been scored less. So I think that is kind of like a good balance to have. And I really want to see them, like, to see how they react against stronger teams. But so far, so good. I mean, I don't think that anyone was expecting Chivas to be third right now.
Yeah, you mentioned they've only had two goals scored in them, like you said, and if you look at the other top four teams, they have 6 goals, 7 goals, 6 goals allowed. So Chivas is doing really well. Like you said, they're not the toughest opponents, but I feel like we have common opponents with Monterrey, Tigres, and America. So those teams are scoring on them, and they're not scoring on Chivas. So it has to say something, I think, about Chivas' defense and Blanca Felix's goalkeeping.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Michelle Gonzalez, who was coming in from not playing for a year and like straight over to center back, I think that she's been doing great. And also Jacqueline Rodriguez, our right back, she wasn't the starter under Coach Villa on the last matches. And it's really great to see her. I always preferred her over maybe Godinez, but it's great to see her like doing well on that side. And that's also, I think, part of why the team's holding so well defensively. And I mean, Yaneli Farias isn't back yet. So when she's like fully fit, that's also going to increase the competition in that defensive line, which is going to make it even better.
Yeah, definitely. And then I know Michelle Gonzalez. They keep listing her as a midfielder. When I look at the lineup, so like I'm going through it, I'm like, oh, Michelle Gonzalez got benched, and then it happens every time. Like I always forget, and then like a couple names later, she's there. I'm like, oh, never mind. They keep listing her as a midfielder.
Yeah, that's something that happens overall for all the teams in the league's website. I don't know what it is. If like it's just teams that have them classified like that. But for example, Pachuca's top goal scorer, Viridiana Salazar, she's listed as a midfielder. She's a striker, so I don't know what's happening there. But Michelle Gonzalez has actually played both positions. I know that when she was brought in from Leon, she was actually a midfielder. And it also surprised me when I saw her as a center back. I was like, what? But it would be interesting to maybe try and play her on the mid to see maybe what she could deliver. Because also we have like Andrea Sanchez, who started as a left wing player and then she was converted into a left back. So it's kind of interesting when coaches make like those little changes and transitions for players. And yeah, I mean, I think that would be maybe an interesting option to try too.
Yeah, and then I know. I forgot to mention the Blanca Felix and Michelle Gonzalez collision. I think Blanca Felix had
Oh
like a
yeah.
swollen eye.
Yeah, she got hit hard. I mean, it was hard for both of them because also Michelle Gonzalez wears braces,
Yeah,
and that also must have been painful. I mean, I think that I know that she was bleeding from her mouth, and then Blanca played like a lot of the match with like a one swollen eye, and she was taken off a few times to check her because she was still bleeding. And then she posted on her social media this week that she was okay, that she got two stitches. She was making a joke that she was trying to get both of her eyebrows even because she has a scar on her left eyebrow. So she says that she missed the mark. It was a few inches to the side, but that she was trying to get them both like looking the same.
yeah. I had braces as a teenager, and yeah, it hurts when you get hit in the mouth. Like I used to play basketball, and like every time a ball would like get deflected to my face, like you just end up bleeding on the inside of your mouth. It sucks.
Yeah, they're really brave because you see a lot of players with braces. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They're like they have my respect for doing that.
Do you want to get into fan questions? I know you wanted to talk about. We got two questions with similar topics, and I know you really wanted to talk about it.
Oh yes. Okay. So we have questions. Okay, we got three. Okay, the first one was by Fabiola, Fabiola Contreras, who's a friend, and she said after seeing Chivas face more challenging teams, which do you think is the main opportunity area for the team and specifically for Chore? So, okay, the things that I've seen that I think that Chore should work on, I think that we still need to figure out like the rhythm picks for this team. I know that's something that Coach Villa it was had really he worked really well. Like you could see like these very clear peaks of attacking 15 minutes and then like maybe falling back a bit the next 15. And that's something that you see in the other teams that have been with their coaches longer. I mean, you see like these peaks of activity on attack and then maybe trying to rest a little bit and then coming back. And with Chivas, their goals are like very spread over the 90 minutes. So I think that he still needs to find like how to get the team like take those like little moments of when to attack and maybe when to rest a little bit and then when to go back on attack so that maybe that kind of helps them like regroup and focus a bit more. I think that that's something that I would like to see them develop or at least have like a bit more clear idea of that. And the other things that I want to see improvement on, well, it's like the timing for subs, but we did see like some work on that on the last two matches this week. And also, like another of my main issues with Chore this season so far is his bench management. Like I said, I don't know which players are injured, but I don't think that we are getting the best bench that we could be getting. And I'm kind of seeing that the bench is not as balanced as it could be because we're not getting players on the mid that could help a lot, like Isabela Gutierrez or Miriam Castillo. And I don't know if it's like a conscious decision to say, okay, I'm going to rotate them so that everyone's happy, or if it's a forced decision because he's having injuries, or if it's just like a plainly tactical decision to say, no, this is what I want to do with my bench. But I kind of feel like he should be doing a bit of work with that because we're also seeing like shorter benches on the away games. I'm not sure if that's like a maybe like the traveling restrictions because of COVID, because he only took 7 players to the bench for Pumas and he only took one midfielder, which was Victoria Acevedo, which is a defensive midfielder. So what would have happened if he needed to do like a midfield substitution on attack? Like what would you have done then? So I kind of feel like that's one of the weaker things, but also I mean you kind of expect that because Chore is like a relatively young coach and he's still new, he's trying to figure out things. So I kind of want to see what he does with that issue. But I mean, I think that so far, if something that we can see from Chori is that he's critical of himself and he's kind of been able to detect where his mistakes have been and he's been able to correct them. So I kind of want to see how he does with that for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I meant to ask you about that. it was weird that he didn't take that many players, and he had so little players on the bench against in the away game specifically. I know against Santos, I think he also had a short bench, and it was weird again when he had it against Pumas. But like you said, I don't know if that's COVID or that's just him not thinking he's not going to need the players, which is weird. Like you should take a full bench to every game.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to figure out how much of it is like forced because of external factors and how much it's his decision. But like even if you're going to take a short bench, I mean try to make it as best as you can. And I feel like that's kind of the decision making that's been kind of lacking a bit in that sense.
Do you think it's because he feels he doesn't have the players he needs and just doesn't take them? Maybe he's looking to the offseason to add some depth to the bench.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I would have taken at least Isabella because she's like a young talent. And if you think that you're going to have like an easy match, for example, against Santos, which like everybody thought it was going to be, then I mean, it makes sense to take in young players because if you're taking control of the match, then you can send them in, get those youth minutes, which are also necessary, and also keep developing your players. I mean, I don't know, it kind of doesn't make sense to me what he's been doing with the bench, but like I'm willing to maybe give him like the benefit of the doubt if it turns out that it's actually been injuries that have been sidelining some players that I wanted to see.
Yeah, and you said there are no like official injury reports from the team, right? They haven't been putting them out.
Yeah, I asked around. I asked around, and I got told from someone who works at the club that they haven't been receiving them, so that's why their social media people haven't been posting them. So I don't know if that's maybe like a technical decision from Chore to say, okay, I'm trying to limit the information my rivals have, or if it's just like a communication mishap going on. But yeah, I mean, we've kind of been kept in the dark in terms of who's injured, who's not injured. Like I said, the only confirmed injury we have is Evelyn Gonzalez, who has a sprain. And it was kind of weird to see because I saw an Instagram post of her and she was like wearing crutches, and I was like, what happened to her? And then I saw like one of the pre-match articles they post, and then they did say that she had a sprain. But the other players, like for example Andrea Sanchez, I don't know what's happening with her or why she's not playing, but we really need her on the field and we are not seeing her. So I don't know what's happening there.
You mentioned Andrea Sanchez. You want to just jump into the next question now? Well, they're both similar.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, they're both similar. We have one from Vanessa Villa and Viviana Barambila, who are also like regulars on the account. They're always like commenting and tweeting at the account. And they both asked, how do you look at Araceli's work on the court? And do you miss Andrea? And the other one question was, who should be the starter, Araceli Torres or Andrea Sanchez? Like I responded last night with like that Juanga gift that said, you don't ask about what you see. But yeah, I mean, okay, I'll try to be as clear and concise as possible because this is a whole issue for the team. I mean, Chivas Femenil has been needing a reliable substitute left back for quite a while. I mean, this is not a new issue. I really don't think Araceli Torres should be starting. I don't like what I've seen from her so far. I feel like she still has some gaps in her game. And like we were talking about this on the DMs, there was like this chart with the three players with the most passes. If you look at these passes charts, from the top three players in terms of accuracy and number of passes, you have like this huge gap where the left back should be, and I don't like seeing that. And also, like on the Pumas goal, you see that Araceli is in line to avoid to bring in the offside, but she never really turns around to see if she has someone behind her, and that's where the goal lands from. So I don't love seeing her. I mean, I don't. I also don't think that she's terrible, but I don't think that she's the best option we have. And the thing is that you have Andrea Sanchez, who has been dominant in that position. I mean, she's a national team player. Like I mentioned before, she used to be a winger who got converted into a left back. So she supplies a lot on attack, and she's also really solid defensively. So, I mean, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if she's injured. And I really would prefer to see Andrea Sanchez start. And I mean, I don't just go offering my tendons to any player, and if she needs them, she can have them. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know what's happening there. And the other thing is that we only have three left backs. Okay, we have Andrea Sanchez, who's the usual starter. Then we have Araceli Torres, who has been playing, and I don't really like seeing her there. And then we have like the eternal mystery for Chivas Femenil, which is why does Samara Alcala not play? And that's something that everybody has been wondering for the last 2 years, I think. And 2 years and three coaches, and we still don't know why she doesn't get the start. Because, I mean, she's a good player. She was a U20 national team player in 2017. She's currently 22, so she's still young. And then when she did get lined up by Coach Villa, she made the best 11 and she was picked like one of the best players of the league. And this was in July 2019, a year ago. And then she gets like finally the chance, she plays well, and then she is completely overlooked for the rest of the season. And we're all like wondering, I mean, if she has proven herself when has a chance to, then why is she not getting like the starts? And there are like a few theories to this like mystery. One is that I don't know if she's maybe still studying and that's why she can make it like to the away games, but then that wouldn't explain why she isn't getting like even on the home games some minutes or something. And then the only other answer I have is that she's a really bad driver and she has run over the dogs of every single coach this team has had, because otherwise I really don't have an answer. Like, why is she not getting the chance to play? I mean, she's clearly good. She's clearly got what it takes, and I don't know. I mean, I just feel bad for her. And she gets asked a lot. Like, people have asked her, like, why are you not getting any minutes? And she's always like being really gracious about it and say, I mean, it's up to the coach. I just do my work and try to wait for my chance. But it feels really unfair at this point to see Araceli Torres get the start and like Samara get completely overlooked. I mean, I really don't know what's happening there, because it's not like, oh, it's just that Chore doesn't like her. No, I mean, this was a thing with Villa. This was a thing with Coach Diaz. This is now a thing with Coach Mejia. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I really wouldn't like. I really would like to get an answer to this before I die, because I'm going to be wondering about this for the rest of my life. It's like a for people who are new to following this team, the Samara Alcala mystery is one of the biggest mysteries this team has. So now you know what's happening there. And if you see like a lot of people on the team's mention saying why doesn't she play, now you know why. It's a mystery, and I really would like to figure out what's happening there, because I do think that we need her. And I also think that trying to find a good left back sub is something that the team really needs to look into for the transfer window. And I mean, there are options. When I was like checking during the off season, like maybe what players we could get. I mean, even you have like a teams that might not be like as big as Chivas. Like for example, in San Luis, San Luis has a U17. She's a right back, but maybe we could try her on the left side to see if she works. Edith Carmona, who is like U17, she's really solid. And there was also Tamara Romero from San Luis who went to Mazatlan, and she kind of reminds me a bit of Andrea Sanchez in her game, because she's like more offensive than defensive. And I mean, also Toluca, they have like a couple of good left backs that maybe we should try and steal from them. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I really want to see a signing on that position, because I really do think we need her. We need to find someone there, because I don't think that it has been like as reliable, and I think that it's starting to show. I mean, part of why maybe Maria Sanchez has kind of been a bit of isolated in the last three matches is because there's not that support from Torres that you would like to see.
Yeah, when you sent me those charts, the past charts, it was crazy that a lot of the left side is like blank. Anything that goes to the left is going from either the right to across the field, and none of it's coming like directly from the left back to Maria Sanchez.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, like everybody was pretty much skipping over Torres and going straight to Sanchez, and I think that that's something that Chore needs to to look into, and I don't know that we need to try to find a way to figure out how to cover that zone, because Rayadas is not going to be an easy team to play, and if you have like a weakness on one side, they are completely going to exploit it. So I mean, I think that's something that really needs figuring out in terms of trying to balance that defense.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on going through the season. Do we have any? No, that was the last question, right, Melissa?
Yeah, because we had three, and two of them were about Torres and Andrea Sanchez, and the other one was about Chore. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's pretty obvious. My answer was going to be pretty obvious for people who follow the account. And yeah, I mean, no, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't think that Torres is completely awful, but she's definitely not up to the level of the rest of her teammates. So I think that really need to figure out what's happening there.
Yep. And then Melissa, for the player profile of the week, we've decided to go with Nicole Perez. 19 years old and born in Guadalajara, Jalisco. She started training in gymnastics as a kid. She started playing soccer, I think I read, in youth school. But even before that, she represented Jalisco in
Yeah.
soccer and racquetball for Olimpiada Nacional. And eventually, she had a stint at RCD Español in 2017. But like you told me, Melissa, she only trained there for a month before returning to Mexico and joining Chivas.
Yeah, it's interesting because she had like the chance to train with Espanyol and they didn't pick her. So she returned to Guadalajara, but the first season of Liga MX Femenil had already started. And she's mentioned before that she was training with the team and she was like basically part of the team, except that she wasn't registered. So even though she was with them during the championship run, she doesn't have the title. So I think that's kind of like really bad because she's one of the players that I would like to see win a title with Chivas. And I mean, she's been there like from the start, and that's something that I've mentioned. Like sometimes we forget how young these players are because they started really early, and like the league has been going on for 3 years now. So she's now 19, and like she still has like a ton of potential, and it's really great this season to see her. Like I think that she's back at her best level because I think that she suffered a little bit last season. But I mean, it's normal. I mean, it's part of her development and her process. But right now, I think that this is like the most confident and the best performing I've seen from her in quite a while. And also, like to mention, and this is like part of her character as a player because she's not someone who shies away from taking leadership positions on the field. When the team had its worst season under coach Luis Manuel Diaz, she was the top scorer for the team, and I really remember seeing her like trying to bring the team forward and trying to motivate her teammates to say, "Okay, let's go, let's try to attack," even when the team was doing like really poorly. So I think that's something that she really has, and that's something that not many players maybe show, like that true leadership that feels really natural for her. And I mean, she's also like really like a really Chivas person and fan. I mean, she's also this is something that gets mentioned a lot too. Her uncle is Suli Ledesma, who was a champion with Chivas. So like she's got that Chivas DNA like in her bones, which is also interesting to see. And I mean, I think that what we've seen with her is like her continued development from the U17 national team, where they made the World Cup final, and now with the U20 team that hasn't had their World Cup yet, but like everyone's expecting them to do pretty well. And I also think that Monica Vergara's coaching has been like really instrumental to developing her as a player. I think that's been like they built like a really strong relationship between coach and player. And I think that Monica Vergara has been a coach that has shown that she can really help and boost her players to do better. And it's something that Monica Vergara did during the World Cup final run was that she would write a word on each of her players' arms, like a word that would define them. And the word Nicole Perez wore on her arm was leader, and because she's been like that leader and that captain for Monica Vergara's national team, and that's why even though she's so young, like she's someone with like a very mature presence on the field, and you like keep forgetting that she's just 19 years old.
Yeah, I saw she was the captain of the runners up at this under 17 World Cup, right?
Yeah, she was the captain for the team. And
Yeah.
like she scored like massive goals, and she's like a good penalty kick taker, and she's got
Mm-hmm.
like a very technical style of play. Like she's really good at free kicks, and she's made like converted goals like straight from free kicks and stuff. So she kind of has like a very complete game, and it's been like really interesting to see her grow and develop.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was watching the under 17 World Cup highlights before we started recording, and now I'm hyped to watch the under 20 World Cup when it eventually happens, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's the it's kind of like interesting because that's the generation that has reaped like the most benefits out of the league because of the age limits that it first had and everything. And it's going to be interesting to see these players keep developing and like make the transition to the senior team. And I think that there's a lot of talent there. And I really think that Nicole Perez is one of the prime candidates for a Europe transfer. I mean, I think that she's someone who could really do well there, and I think that there must be already some eyes on her because she's also like best friends with Silvana Flores, who was at Arsenal and who is
Mm-hmm.
currently at Chelsea. So I mean, we've seen that before with Mexican players. Like sometimes they start recommending to their coaches or to their staff, like, I know that this player maybe you should look into her and you should check her out. So I know that Silvana is probably going to try to help her too to make the move. And I think that if she has like a good season with Chivas right now, as she's having, and maybe hopefully they get the title, I think that's also going to boost like her chances to try to make the move to Europe.
Yeah, I was reading an interview before, and she keeps saying that she wants to win the championship before she eventually goes back to Europe because that's her ultimate goal is to go back to Europe after the month she had at RCD Español.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably like a challenge that she has. I mean, she probably has like that maybe that chip on her shoulder to say, I want to go back and like prove that I'm worthy and that I'm good enough to make it in Europe. And I do think that she's going to eventually make the move. I mean, she's 19. She's like a good age to keep developing and growing. And like also as we see like the European leagues get better, I mean, it's becoming like an even more real option for Mexican players there.
Yeah, hopefully it's Arsenal and not Chelsea because I'd like to watch her play for Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, we also like, okay. So we asked Nicole Perez fan club president Amy Lopez to give us a few words about Nicole to read here, and then she replied about Nicole. She is amazing in every way possible. Arsenal women, please sign her. And yeah, I mean, I think that it would be like an interesting thing to see her with Arsenal and do really well. I mean, I hope that she eventually makes it. She eventually makes it there. And Nicole is like one of the players that I've gotten to meet like in person, and she's kind of really impressive because even though she was like what 18 or 17 when I met her a year ago, she's like really she has like a lot of like calm and composure with fans. Like if you saw her and like you didn't know how old she was, you would think that she's been like a pro for way longer than she has been because she's like really calm and like she's really good at interviews and like she seems like a really mature person, but she also has like the prankster side. Like she's been consistently named as one of the team pranksters, so she kind of has like that balance where she's a kid and she's like playing pranks with everyone on the team, but she's also like really mature and composed and professional with fans and with the team and on the pitch. So it's kind of interesting to see her like have that balance and like that maturity to like do both, because you don't necessarily want like such a young player to be like really uptight or kind of not enjoying like their youth because they're like so really young. They're really kids still.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm really excited to keep watching her. She has 3 goals on the season. I I know she has a couple of assists. I don't know how many because I couldn't find a table on the Liga MX Feminine site for assists. I don't know if you know off the top of your head how many assists she has on the season.
I think she had 2 or 3. I still need to update my database. I haven't really built my goals and assists. I haven't updated them, but I'll get to that. And I think that I only had the list of those until last week. I don't know if I have it
Because she had
here,
one. She had
but
one
yeah,
in
I
the
think that
Pumas
she
game.
had.
She
Uh-huh.
took the corner that Alicia Cervantes got the goal on.
Okay, so she had 2 all the way to Jornada Cuatro, so she must be like around 3 or 4 right now,
Okay.
probably.
Yeah, now and she
So
has
yeah, I
three
mean,
goals.
she's solid on both fronts. Like she's someone who can assist, but she's also really good at finishing on her specialties, which are like free kicks and penalty kicks. So she's kind of like a very really well-rounded player, and like I said, so young and like with such composure on the field. Like she's not someone who's going to get into picking easy fights or taking yellow cards like really easily. She has like that maturity to her too, which is really interesting to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's our profile on Nicole Perez. Melissa, Chivas' next game is against Querétaro on Monday night. Well, Monday afternoon, I guess. 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I was looking at Querétaro's place in the table. They were like, what was it, like eighth?
Yeah, the
They're
thing
not one
with
of the stronger
Querétaro,
teams.
well, they used to be one of the weakest teams, or one of the weakest teams in the league. But during the off season, they brought in Carla Rossi as their coach. Then I think that the work that she's been doing with that team is starting to show right now. So this is not like the same kind of Querétaro that you can just like brush off easily. I think that it's going to be like interesting to see how well they can do against Chivas. And I think that it's going to be like maybe more competitive than that what their ranking might suggest. I kind of really want to see what Carla Rossi does in terms of trying to neutralize Chivas like we've seen other teams do. So I think it's going to be interesting, an interesting challenge for them too.
Do you want to make a prediction on what scoreline?
I think that it's going to probably be 2-1, maybe. I think that they had like Querétaro had a 3-1 loss against Tigres. So I do think that they're probably going to score on Chivas. So I'm going with a 2-1, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of their I'm looking at the results from like past games. They have a 3-1 loss to Tigres. They have a 3-0 win over Cholos, a 3-0 win over Mazatlan, a 3-3 tie in there with Atlas. So yeah, it might be a little tougher, but I'm still gonna pick Chivas no matter what.
Yeah, I think that Chivas can pull off the win, but like I said, this is not like the same weak Querétaro that we were used to seeing. Like the improvement is there, and I think that it's going to be great to have that challenge because after Querétaro, it's Rayadas up next, which is
Yeah,
like one of the toughest matches of the season. So that's going to be also really interesting to see.
yeah. I didn't want to look ahead to the Rayadas match, but remember we were last podcast we were talking about it already, and we were saying they needed adversity, and I like what I see from Shorty, and I like what I see from the team. So hopefully we can walk into that match after a win against Querétaro.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're seeing Chore consolidate his style, and also we're seeing him grow as a coach too. So I think that it's going to be interesting that they get Rayadas like right at the middle of the season, like it's their midterm test, and
Mm-hmm.
let's see how they can do. But I mean, like you said, I like what we're seeing so far. I think that this team's exceeding expectations. They're performing well. I mean, we have a Golden Boot contender. We have the best defense, and I think that maybe people keep brushing off Chivas and kind of expecting them to fall apart, but it doesn't look like that's going to come soon.
No, definitely not, and hopefully not. Melissa, do you have anything else to
Yeah,
add
I mean,
before we wrap up?
not really. I mean, just like keep watching, keep supporting, and like let's hope that left back mystery gets sorted soon. I hope.
All right. So this has been another episode of the Chivas Del Norte podcast. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week after Chivas plays Querétaro. We're out.